when I was 14 years old and I was in Mr. Henderson's history class last period. The clock above the door was inching towards 3 p.m., and I was just a kid named Leo, bored out of my skull, staring at the empty desk next to mine. Seat 14, no one ever sat there. The other kids treated it like it was cursed, pushing their chairs away from it. My friend Mia passed me a note. It said that a boy named Sam Rourke vanished from that seat in 1958. His last written answer was nonsense. I can see the other blackboard. I laughed it off. Kid stuff. But fool that I was, I idly scribbled that same phrase in my notebook margin. Just as the big hand hit 2:58, a cold draft cut through the room. The lights flickered, and for a second old Henderson's voice sounded like a record played backwards. Then the bell didn't ring. The clock stopped dead 3 p.m. The teacher kept talking, but his voice was a broken record, repeating the same sentence. Every other kid in the room, they froze, solid, like statues. Only me and Mia could move. She looked at me, her eyes wide as dinner plates, and whispered, "You wrote it, Leo." And that's when I saw him. In seat 14, a boy in clothes from another time, flickering like a bad TV picture. The ink on my page bled and twisted into new words. He took my seat. Now I need his. That's when the frozen kids started to turn their heads. Slow like rusty gears. Their eyes were black pits. The ghost of Sam Rourke wasn't scary. He was terrified, pointing at the back wall. And there it was, a second blackboard, covered in names. At the very bottom, in wet, dripping chalk, was my name. Then a shadow peeled off the wall, tall, thin. It started walking the rows, touching each frozen kid on the head, getting closer to me. Mia was screaming for me to say something, to answer the unspoken question. The shadow was right beside me. I could feel the cold coming off it, like the door to a grave had opened. I choked out the words, "I can see the other blackboard." Everything vanished but me and that shadow. It turned and reached for me with a finger made of dust and darkness. It touched my forehead. And then the bell rang, normal. Kids were laughing, packing up. Mia asked if I was okay. I said I was. But I wasn't. You see, when I left that room, a part of me didn't. I sat down in seat 14. The real me, the Leo you're looking at now. I've been living this boy's life ever since. I wear his face, I have his memories. But sometimes in a quiet moment I can still feel that chalk dust finger on my skin, and I hear the faint scratching of a pencil from a seat that's never really empty. Ah, the old Belmont Academy stories. They used to tell this one in whispers. They called it the legend of the gilded cage. But it wasn't a legend to a friend of mine. This was back in '49, when I was just a young tutor at the library. I remember the night of March 3rd, a storm shaking the windows. A brilliant scholarship boy, Avi Patel, was working late. He found a strange blueprint showing a third floor that didn't exist. The note said it was for unruly thoughts. Well, Avi had a curious mind. He found the hidden staircase in the history stacks, and he climbed up, right into the heart of the school's old secret. He described it to me later, his hands never quite steady again. A grand, frozen hallway from the Gilded Age. Doors with nameplates. Behind them, the dried-up remains of students preserved at their moment of greatest, most dangerous inspiration. The school didn't expel radical geniuses, son. It archived them. And their warden was a thing made of living paper, the custodian. Avi said it caught him. It was making a nameplate with his name on it. All those captured minds began to shuffle out, ready to welcome him to his eternal study. The custodian glided toward him, a whirlwind of forgotten pages. Avi was cornered, certain he was doomed to become just another frozen exhibit. But he was an architect's mind, even in his terror. He remembered a structural flaw on the blueprint, a support column disguised as a sconce. As the papery hands reached for him, he wrenched that sconce from the wall. The ceiling caved in right on top of the custodian. He said the sound was like a million books sighing all at once. The captured students, they just crumbled to dust, finally free. The whole hallway began to unravel, and Avi ran for his life down the melting stairs. He came to me right after, white as a sheet, babbling about dissolving hallways and paper monsters. I thought it was the stress, but the next day the head librarian vanished, and Avi, he never designed grand buildings. He spent his life designing parks, gardens, quiet places with wind chimes. He'd just smile and say, "Some ideas need air, not a cage." He took the truth of the gilded cage to his grave. But I believe him. Oh, I believe him. My youngest friend, Sarah, her girl Jasmine, she went through something at Lowell Middle that no child should. This was just a few years back, 2023. November 29th, Jasmine was serving detention in the old basement room. The teacher left, said the door would unlock at 5 p.m. sharp. But at 5, the clock stopped, the lights went out, and the room, it changed, became an older classroom. A teacher with no face was at the board. It gave her a test on remembrance. It wanted the name of a forgotten student. Jasmine, clever girl, remembered a plaque in the lobby for a Miss Ada Voss. She wrote it down. It helped, but it wasn't enough. The teacher asked another question. Why did the spark jump? About the old fire that burned the first school. Jasmine didn't know. The room grew hot, smelled of smoke. The faceless children crowded around. She was just a kid, alone in the dark with a thing that fed on being forgotten. But she saw the modern exit sign's reflection in an old window pane. In that reflection, she saw the current fire safety instructions, mentioning the faulty wiring in the old 51 alarm system, and she shouted it out. It was an accident, a short circuit. She told her mama that the teacher's face flickered then, and she saw a sad, kind woman for just a second. Then it all faded away. She was back in the normal detention room, the door unlocked. They threw that old clock out. But Sarah says Jasmine won't go near that wing of the school anymore. And she says sometimes when the hall is quiet you can smell chalk dust and old wool where there shouldn't be any. The child remembers. And so I suppose does whatever is left of Miss Ada Voss. Some detentions, it seems, don't end when the bell rings. They're just waiting for someone to remember the question,